May I come in, man?
Of course, please come in, have a seat. All right, let's begin, shall we?
Yes, ma'am.
So let's start easy. What is React?
React is basically my daily cup of coffee in code form. It's a JavaScript library for building user interfaces, those layouts and buttons people interact with. It makes development fast and dangerously fun.
Dangerously fun, huh? I like that. All right then. Why do we even need a virtual DOM? Isn't one DOM enough?
One DOM is enough, until it starts moving slower than me on a Monday morning without coffee. The virtual DOM is like a clever assistant. It tracks changes and updates only what's needed, instead of repainting everything. That's why React feels snappy.
Ah, so it's like a personal trainer for the DOM. Props versus state. Explain.
Props are like a lunchbox. You get it from someone else, and you don't mess with it. State is your own snack stash. You can change it whenever you like.
I'll never explain it better than that. What's a React hook then?
Hooks are like superheroes for functional components. With useState, you get memory. With useEffect, you get lifecycle control, all without needing old-school class components.
So they turned us all into superheroes?
Exactly.
Next one. How would you optimize a React app?
Use React.memo to avoid useless re-renders, use callback for stable functions, lazy load code where possible, and most importantly, never code at 3 a.m.
Spoken like someone who's been there.
Oh, I have, many times.
All right, let's continue. This time, I want you to elaborate more on your answers.
Yes, ma'am.
Explain the difference between controlled and uncontrolled components in React with an example.
Controlled components are those where the form data is handled by React state, so the UI and state are always in sync. For example, an input field with a value linked to state and an onChange handler.
Uncontrolled components store data in the DOM itself, so you access it using refs, like a plain HTML form without React managing its value.
Good. And which one do you prefer for larger forms?
Controlled, because it's easier to manage validation and logic in one place.
Correct. Always choose what gives you more control in complex cases. Tell me the difference between useMemo and useCallback.
useMemo caches the result of a function, while useCallback caches the function itself to prevent unnecessary recreations.
Could you give me an example?
Well, if you have a heavy calculation, you wrap it in useMemo. If you pass a function to a child component that depends on state, you wrap it in useCallback to avoid re-renders.
All right, you got there. Explain React reconciliation and how keys help in rendering.
Reconciliation is the process React uses to compare the virtual DOM with the actual DOM to decide what needs to change.
Keys help identify which list items have changed, are added, or removed, so React can update efficiently instead of re-rendering everything.
And what happens if you don't use unique keys?
React gets confused? The UI may update incorrectly.
Exactly. And we don't like confusing React, do we? When would you use useLayoutEffect instead of uEffect?
I'm not entirely sure, but I think useLayoutEffect runs synchronously after DOM mutations before the browser paints the screen, while UEffect runs asynchronously after Paint.
Correct. And why would that matter?
For measuring DOM elements or doing UI calculations before the user sees anything?
Yes. Always know when timing matters in rendering. Okay, last one. Explain the concept of React fiber architecture.
I've heard of it, but haven't worked with it directly.
Could you give it a try?
I think it's the new rendering engine in React that breaks rendering work into smaller chunks so the UI stays responsive instead of blocking everything at once.
Not bad for someone unsure. Remember, Fiber allows React to pause, resume, and prioritize work, which is why features like concurrent mode are possible.
Got it, ma'am.
All right, that will be all for today. You did well, even on the tricky ones.
Thank you, ma'am. I really appreciate the opportunity and the feedback.
You're welcome. Keep practicing and stay curious. That's how you'll grow faster.
I will, ma'am. Thank you for your time today.
Have a good day.
You too, ma'am.